Yeah, welcome. So those of you who are here, go on down to the bottom of your screen where the chat is and click on there and let us know where you're calling from. Oh my gosh, Cindy and Ken are back. Hey, Heather is here too. Hi, and Amy. Oh, and I see some new faces as well. Yeah, so go over to the chat and type in where you're from, and maybe like something that also add something that you're feeling really thankful for today. Would love to hear some of that great energy if we can pop those into the chat. And we're gonna wait just a second for those of you who are still typing in here. We got Michaela from Minnesota. Welcome, Michaela. I'm here in California and the weather is pretty nice. It's actually kind of cloudy and it's overcast today, but I think we'll probably have some sun later. So today I'm feeling really grateful for, what am I feeling grateful for? Today I'm feeling really grateful for nature surprises. So yesterday I led a guided nature walk, and we on the beach, and we came across a big kelp holdfast. So for those of you who don't know seaweeds, they attach to the bottom of the ocean with these big root-like structures. They look like roots, but they're big, massive, fingery projections that attach to rocks. Well, sometimes they get dislodged, and they wash up on shore. And I had some girls with me, and we were looking at the holdfast, and there were tons of brittle stars, these beautiful little spidery little sea stars. So they're related to, well, they're a type of sea star with all these long arms that were wiggling around. It was just such a sight and amazing to see. And at the same time felt this sadness for all of these creatures. Their home got washed up from the bottom of the ocean onto the beach, and there isn't anything that we could do. It's probably several hundred pounds, to lift up and put back in the ocean. So it was just an example of, how nature's like the cycle of nature, right? The up and down, the growth and the decay, and the blooming and the losing of leaves. And right now in the Northern Hemisphere, we're experiencing autumn with changing colored leaves. And we have a special guest today. So I'm super excited to have Jan Roby-Crystal, who is a member of our group. She's been here for a while and is participating. And I've invited her to come and share some of her experience in Massachusetts. And I'm going to welcome Jan Roby-Crystal from Massachusetts. And she is the director of the art house at the Arcadia Wildlife Sanctuary. And so she's going to introduce us to some amazing things that are going on right now in Massachusetts. And when we go on this virtual trip with her, it's a field trip. So she's going to take us on a walk through the sanctuary, through a special trail that they've built for the work that Jan does. And I'm going to encourage everyone to have your nature journal out, and we're going to practice gesture sketching. So can you raise your hand and show me? You guys remember what gesture sketches are, right? Just like kind of wave your hand. Okay, yeah, almost all of you, I see. Okay, so just briefly, for those of you who are new, a gesture sketch is just a quick sketch. You're going to capture just the basic shapes of what you're seeing. So instead of putting all the details of the eyes and the feathers and the wings and the veins of the leaf, focus on making some quick lines. Hold your pencil and use it just lightly and quick strokes on your page. And this is a way to just loosen up. So I'm going to encourage you to sketch along while we're watching. Some of the slides will stop for a little bit longer. You'll have a little bit more time to put more detail in, but some of them might come a little quickly, and that's okay. Just sketch what you can see, and that will help you remember this experience when you put your pencil on the page and do a little sketching. And remember that the sketches are not about making a perfect picture, right? They're about capturing the moment of what you saw and what you think was most important on that page. And then at the end, we will share, let's see. And actually, before we dive in, does anyone have any quick questions here? All right, we're good. Okay, so I'm going to shift over to Jan. We'll spotlight you and you can start sharing. I think what I'll do for those of you who want to know, on my thumbnail, I'm going to set up my document camera. So if you wanted to see, you can probably slide over there and watch while I sketch along.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Well, actually, for you, it's morning. For me, it's already afternoon. And I just wanted to say I'm so happy you've decided to come on our journey today. And I am going to get started by sharing my screen. And we're going to have a 1-minute short presentation that I think will give you a little bit of a feel for Arcadia and why I find this place so incredibly irresistible. So here we go. So that's my first little piece I wanted to share with you. And now, as soon as I can figure out how to get this off of my screen, oops, sorry. Let's take that away. Stop the share for a minute. And I'm going to now go ahead. I think this is the order we decided in. I'm going to give you a little introduction to, not in order anymore. Here we go.
I forgot to mention that Nicole Rodney is here helping out with all of the background technical issues. So just want to, give a shout out, thank you to Nicole, who's also a member and who's always here and supporting all of us. So just wanted to say thank you, Nicole.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. Jan, I think you have muted yourself.
Here I am again. All right, in this next part, I'm going to just give you a little overview of Arcadia. And this is when it'd be a really great time to start sketching. And you could see that Melinda is getting herself ready in her journal to start sketching as well. And this is a little picture of Arcadia Sanctuary. Just to give you a big overview picture, I'm going to do this over the next few slides. It might take me days, but over the next few slides, Arcadia has a lot of wetlands, and I chose to put this in first. This was taken early last spring after Arcadia had been closed for quite a while due to the virus. And we were lucky enough to be invited to do a very quiet, only 2 people at a time in our whole sanctuary, little tour. And this is one of the scenes I saw, which again is our beautiful wetlands that come every year. And it's one of the reasons we have so many amazing flowers there, is because it's always replenishing the soil and enriching it. Oh, now why is it not working? All right.
Am I putting your cursor on the slide once?
Okay. All right. So that worked. All right. So Arcadia, this will give you a little example. It's kind of a unique facility because it does straddle 2 towns, Northampton and Easthampton. And remember, in the very first picture you saw, a little picture in the video, you saw a picture of mountains. Those are the Seven Sisters. They're part of the Holyoke Range, and they feature really, really big time into Arcadia. We often go up there and are able to do some kinds of conversations between the two areas, which is very exciting, way up in the hill. So we have a relationship with all that goes down here. This is where the art house sits, is right over here. You can all see my cursor, I hope. Yes, great. And this is the little trail we're going to walk, but Arcadia is really 777 or so acres. So it's a very, very large place. And this is our grassland area. These are just our trails. And then we also go into this whole area with grasslands where we protect a very large type of birds like bobolinks and other birds that are very beautiful, incredible, all through this grassland. And we also have started to plant agricultural areas to help with this soil erosion. And it's a very exciting place because there's forest, there's terrain of various types, grassland, there's vernal pond, there's a pool and it fills up every spring. And then a lot of the creatures that suddenly come and appear move over into the fire pond later on in the season. So you'll get a little feel for all of this in this next slide. I'm excited about it because it has such an amazing amount of wildlife, which I really love. Okay, so this is just a little picture of bloodroot, also in the early spring. And again, it's a tremendous population of different kinds of wildflowers. And we are at the base of the Connecticut River and the very famous oxbow. Some of you may be familiar with the work of Thomas Cole, who at one point in history, he was doing a lot of paintings of the oxbow. They're very famous. And it became a place of great exploration. And we're excited because this floodplain, this area is so rich. We're right at the end of the Mill River, which connects into the Oxbow and the Connecticut River, which is where the Oxbow is. And you'll be seeing more pictures of that soon. Here are some of our wildflowers. And of course, the deer, which are ever present. They come galloping by the art house every day. They're very familiar with all of us. And again, here's a giant ash tree, just changing color. This is the woods that's right near the art house. Am I going too fast for drawing?
Jan, could you just go back to that one slide for a moment while I share something? So for those of you who are sketching along, you can make little quick gesture sketches, and then Jan has offered to leave a PDF of these slides so that you can go back later. We'll put it on Padlet, and so you don't have to feel like you have to get everything right, because I think the color and things you can put in later. But for now, maybe just practicing the gesture sketches, just like they're really great, because when we've done gesture sketches together, remember we've done those 30-second sketches. So just imagine that we're doing these 30-second sketches and just capture just the basic shapes. Like, for example, the ash tree on the left, I see lots of triangles and kind of rectangles and lines. And so just, blocking out a little space of where the lines are, and you can write ash on there, and you can come back to it later to add a little bit more. But I think that by doing this kind of warm up and getting our brain and our hand fired up and practicing, you're going to feel so much better at the end of this field trip. So if you're feeling any frustration or challenging times with this, just know that it's challenging because it's new, and it means your brain is growing. So we're all in the same boat, and we're all going to be laughing about this and sharing about it at the end. But enjoy what Jan is talking about and just sketch along. This is going to help you remember some of the things that she's sharing. So thank you.
Thanks, Belinda.
Actually, someone's asking how they can see my sketching. So I think, Nicole, do you have mine spotlighted?
Let's see. Well, we have Jan spotlighted, I think.
Jan spotlighted, okay.
So what you can do is if you're on a computer, go to the upper right-hand part of your screen, and you'll see a little button that says View. If you choose Side-by-Side Gallery, you'll see the gallery, and Melinda should be one of the top choices. And you'll see, if you hover over the different little boxes of people, you'll see her name, and then you'll see that she's got a notebook there. So that's how you can see it. If you're on a computer, you'll be able to adjust the bar with a little dragging tool that's in the middle between the slides and the gallery. If you're on a tablet, it doesn't quite work that way, and it doesn't really work that way on a phone either.
Yeah, and on the computer, you can go to my thumbnail where I have my sketchbook, and you can pin that video. And what that does is it'll keep it on your screen instead of all the other smaller thumbnails. So see if that works for you.
Good.
Yeah, the little blue square with the 3 dots, you should have the choice to pin.
Is this going okay now? Should I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, you know, the colors are so magnificent. I put this little picture up and it looks a little bit washed out. The colors are really quite intense. I think they're closer to another photo I was going to show you later. But we've had an unusual fall here this year. It started off very slowly and gently, almost like falls that I remembered from other parts of the country. But it's gotten really intense now, as you will see later on. So just get this idea that look at the colors. We've got reds, really deep reds. We've got brighter reds, oranges, yellows, greens, purples, all kinds of colors, but they're just not quite as intense as they later become. So that'll be a surprise to you when you see it later. Okay, and here we have another gorgeous example of the canopy. I'm so crazy about these canopies because, you know, a lot of light doesn't get in, so there often aren't a lot of lower branches anywhere at Arcadia. But when you look up, it's such a magnificent view, and it's so lacy depending on the part of the forest that you're in. We also have a lot of mushrooms. I don't know if anybody out there is a mushroom hunter, but we've got so many of them at Arcadia, and I just put in a few, just thought you might like to take a peek. They're very fun to draw. If you haven't ever drawn a mushroom, it's a particular challenge, I have to say, to get their incredibly interesting, intricate little edges is really fun to see. The two on the right clearly aren't so hard to get on the edges. This one has a lovely twist to it, the one in the middle, the Eastern skunk cabbage. But the two on the left are definitely amazing and very intricate in their color. This would be fun to do some sketching of later, I think. And the wetlands. So we are really excited to have this tower that's been standing here for so many years. It's very rickety. And yet the reason it's rickety is not because it isn't in the ground straight, but it's rickety because it has been designed in a way that will sway because the water levels, I don't know if you can see, but in 1934, you see where I'm actually circling, the water level came up this high. So just to give you a little sight, this tower is sitting over here on the far left of this left-hand picture. Does that make sense to you? So you can just imagine it's sitting up here in the hill. So there's a little bit of a hill that comes up from the Mill River. This is the wetlands, and the Mill River is this larger area over here. So this area can sometimes be drier, sometimes it can be wet. And right now it's pretty wet, but the level of the water comes right up. So this beautiful overlook, which is designed for children, so it's got slats in the bottom where little kids can look out. It's just wonderful up there. And it rocks and rolls a little bit just so it can sway with the water levels, because we're always having floods. This is the wet plain and the wetlands, and we manage it by doing something like that so we can still enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. And this is our latest thing that we have built, and this is the our new teaching pavilion that we'll all be able to use at some point. It's a little bit still under construction, but is a massive undertaking for us. And a large part that we did this is we never have had an outdoor space, rain or shine. Now we have rain, shine, or snow, where people can not really stay warm, but at least be covered. And our nature school is now running despite the COVID virus. We're able to keep it open, which is wonderful. So we have one of the first nature schools in Mass Audubon, definitely in Massachusetts. It's been around since 1956, so it's been ongoing all these years. I'm sorry, 1976. Sorry, I got my dates messed up, but sorry, 1976 that has been going since then. And that's a long time to have a preschool evolving, and the joy of teaching science education to preschoolers is really fantastic. It's one of the things that I'm the most excited about, and we love doing that. It's just terrific. The sensory walk is something I'm going to show you another day, Melinda has told me. So I didn't put a lot of information in it, but just to let you know that we do have a walk that's quite large, and it leaves from this area and goes through the woods. Everything is labeled in Braille, and there are these ropes that you can see right here. So these ropes allow people to follow it if they're sight impaired all around, and part of it takes place on a boardwalk that I'm going to show you in just a minute. So here's the boardwalk, and that takes us out to the vernal pool and the fire pond. They're just separated by a small spit of land, and usually it's just an overflow at different times of year. Here you're seeing an early spring shot of the vernal pool when it's really very high, and most of the time though during the rest of the year it's you know, all you see are branches laying in it. I think I'll have a picture of that in a minute. And we have all kinds of creatures, mosquitoes and newts and salamanders and different kinds of fish and not fish, but we have a lot of, well, I guess we do have some fish in there, but mostly what we notice is things like frogs and other reptiles and snakes and stuff that live down there. And it's fascinating to watch. And we have this boardwalk that is part of the sensory trail as well. And all of it has that rope going all along it so people can easily feel it. And there's different kinds of knobs on there so that we know what's happening next, if there's an opening, a bench, a braille marker to read, etc. Okay, to feel, I should say. All right, and here we have another view of the vernal pond, and you can see it, a vernal pool. You can see it right here, right? And it's all dried up. This is how it looks now at this time of year. You just see the remnants of branches that have fallen, a lot of leaves. Here's one of our inhabitants from the summer months, and he's now moved over into the fire pond, which is right here, just to give you a little view. So a lot of people come to Arcadia to go birding. In fact, that's the reason that Arcadia originally was formed, by a group of neighbors who loved birding and bought a chunk of land, and they wanted to get Arcadia started so that the birds would be forever protected. And we are particularly excited to see about the habit restoration and the management that Arcadia is involved in, and the Arcadia Meadows, which is a huge piece of property. And it just keeps growing. People keep donating land, or we buy land when something comes up for sale, just to keep it growing. Here are two of my favorites, the blue bunting, which is a magnificent bluebird. It's just, the color of it is so intense. It's like indigo. And then of course the eastern meadowlark. And if you get a chance, go out somewhere if you have any of the listening, where you can listen to the bird calls. Some of the devices for the phones are just amazing. And the meadowlark has such a beautiful call. I love listening. So you can see a little bit of our meadows here. And here are a few more. Our Canada geese are very full and live in and around the area, just, you know, the wetlands, and also into the swampy areas and the Mill River. And we also have a wonderful barred owl up here for you to see. We have plenty of owls, lots of tooting at night. It's wonderful. I love it. And the cedar waxing is a lovely bird. Waxwing, sorry. So these will all be available for you later if you care to do some sketching from them. By the way, all those pictures were taken at Arcadia. Those aren't just birds I put in there, but we actually have a large website where friends and neighbors, visitors come out, they can put anything they want to post up there about what they've seen. So I took my things that I didn't have myself from that site. So here we have another view of the Mill River, and you can see that there's a lot of grasses that grow there, and I'll show you yet another view later. You can see the tips of fall beginning to change. So this is a very recent photograph. And then here's the Mill River at the end, and this little bridge is actually part of a walkway that people can go on. Also, cars can go on this. And there's a place right here to the right where I'm on the right-hand slide picture where I'm rotating, that's where you can put your kayaks in. It's very easy access. You can park up here. There's a parking spot and put it right in, and you can go through under the bridge to the Mill River where it's ending right here. And you can go through to this kind of mixed area where it becomes the Connecticut River, and the Oxbow is right up here. So it's a lovely, very, very historic place to kayak in. We have a lot of kayaks and canoe trips from Arcadia daily. So one of the other initiatives that we always thought was important at Arcadia, we've had a lot of education, that we go into the world, into our Pioneer Valley where we live, and we educate children starting at age 3. We educate them in all sorts of climate change, actions that they can do, taking care of our world, environmental education, things that they can do as a class, things they can do as a community. And this is one of my favorite shots, just to show you the kids. I love it. We have a youth summit. We host the annual Western Mass Youth Summit every year. We bring a lot of children in, young adults in from all over the country, from all over our area of the country, in the Pioneer Valley. And we do this so that they get to know each other. And then they start different action plans, and it becomes a year-long project. At the end, we give a prize for the best video presentation with the strongest ideas that we can then spread out into the community. And some of our education, of course, is hands-on. I love this one because, you know, when you can put your arms around a tree, that means the tree is 50 years old, just in case you didn't know that. And over here, we have one of our many solar arrays, and every bit of our electricity and heat is now gotten at Arcadia from the solar arrays. Plus, we have 4 charging stations that are open to the public. And it's become a great thing. And I love the things we're doing, like the Climate Change Cafe, getting the kids to come in and talk to each other. And now we do it, of course, virtually. But we're doing it, and we're trying to make a big difference in our environment. And also, we do a lot of legislation toward these ends as well. So we have visitors in all seasons. You can see on the far right, there's a picture of a bunch of people in the snow. Let me tell you, if you live in Northampton or in the New England area, you can't let snow stop you, because you'll be inside for a lot of months. So we do a lot of snowshoeing, and we do things like, you know, almost everybody I know is out on their skis and just doing, you know, a lot of skiing. You can see the ski lines right along here as well, because we often will just ski the trails using, you know, cross-country skiing. And in my town, I can actually ski from my house downtown, do my shopping, and ski back home. It's a little tough, but we can do it. And this is our nature preschool. And this is just an example of a little nature park that we built, all from things we found in the woods. It's great. You always hear the voices of children. And this is Connie Parks, one of our longtime volunteer educators, and you can see her working with the kids, all ages, many events, camps, classes, hikes, you name it, we've got it. And really, we're trying very hard to reach out to everybody through festivals, and now have lots of them on the books. Solstice, Winter Solstice is the next one coming up, and I'm pretty excited about it. So that's my first slide package to show you. And now we're going to go on. I think, let me share my screen again. Melinda, were you going to show some videos in a minute?
Oh, yes. You know, that was on my other computer. So
No, we're going to skip that.
let me see. Oh, wait, I think I have access to the drive. Hold on one second.
Okay.
And Jan, while she's doing that, maybe we could take some questions. I mean,
Absolutely, my
at the very
pleasure.
beginning, I had a question personally.
Yes.
This is cool, and it was about. I was trying to sketch and do the tech, but something about a fire pond. What?
Okay, it's just called the fire pond. I don't know how it got its name. Melinda asked me the other day, and I was going to look into it and forgot to. But we do have, it's just called the fire pond, and I have no idea why. But I'm going to look into that now for sure, and I'm going to give you the answer. Okay, next week I should have it. But yes, it's one of the many ponds. We have 7 creeks and river runs coming through Arcadia. It's got lots of places to hang around with water and amphibious life, which I completely love. I don't know, that's me. Anyway, Melinda, I think that the plan was I was going to start talking a little bit, and then you were going
Yeah,
to. Okay,
right, right. Sorry, I'm
that'll
having
give you
trouble
another.
accessing
That'll
the
give you another.
files. Yeah, I'll take a look while you're sharing. Thank you.
Okay. So this is a picture of the art house, and this is really my baby at Arcadia. And I'll tell you that the art house is a little tiny cabin in the woods that I've recently had a small screen porch put on. But the story behind the art house is something that anybody could replicate at a place that they know and love as well. My story was that one day I was meditating, and in the middle of the meditation, I suddenly saw myself sitting in a small house looking out through to the woods. The house had windows. I didn't really know anything more than it was the most beautiful experience of my life. I saw people walking on the trail. I saw myself feeling home. And when I came awake, I quickly wrote down my vision and I sent it to the director of Arcadia, Jonah Keene. 5 minutes later, I got a call from Jonah, who said, "How soon can you get here, Jan?" And I said, "Well, 5 minutes." I had been volunteering and teaching classes for a long time before this had happened. So he knew me, and I was there in 5 minutes because all I had to do was come down the hill and I'm there. And he was standing in front of his office jangling a set of keys. And together we looked at 2 houses that were available to me. One of them was too far off the trail. I wasn't comfortable with that one. I really wanted to have a place in the thick of it. And I love tulip trees. So there it was, Tulip Tree Trail, this little tiny shack, the part on the right. And believe me, it's not big, it's 15 by 15. And he said, "What are you going to do in there?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to use it to store art materials. I want you to deliver 2 tables, benches for me, and I'm going to get this thing started." And we talked about it, and he said, "I just want you to know I'm all tied up. All my resources, all of our resources are tied up. You're on your own. We're so busy with climate change that anything you create here is on your own." So it was a long haul for me to get enough money together from various art supply stores and from larger companies like Chart Pack, which happens to have an office not too far from me. And I eventually got some help to supply me with art supplies. But the big thing was when I first walked into this house, a lot of squirrels had been living here and a lot of mice had been living here for a long time. So with my friends, we completely renovated the interior and the exterior of this house. And it looks great now, but you should have seen it when I first saw it. I got conjunctivitis in both eyes after spending a couple of weeks there. So I'll tell you about it. It was intense. Then another serendipitous thing happened. We have a lot of bugs here because I'm very close to the floodplain. And we usually flood right up to about here every year, right through the trail. And so I was one day getting my car fixed, and what do you think? There was this amazing person who drove me home while I was waiting for my car, and we were talking about what we did in life. Turns out he was on the board, actually the head of the board, of a local Votech school. And I immediately told him about the art house, and he said, "Oh, how soon do you want that screen porch?" And I said, "How about tomorrow?" And he said, "Okay, we're on it." So within another couple of months, I was able to figure out a way to have a lot of wood donated to us. And the next thing you knew, we had one group of wonderful students and their teacher out there putting a beautiful screen porch on. And I had a friend who's an architect draw that. And later on today, I'm gonna, in another slide, might be the next one, I'm gonna show you a little bit more about that. This is a tulip tree leaf. And before my favorite tulip tree that stood right here on the edge of the trail fell down, I was able to grab a leaf one day and do a little painting of it, just for remembering of how much I love those yellow leaves in the fall. Very beautiful. So I'm going to go to the next slide, and this will show you another view of
Actually, I have the video if you want to show the video. So
okay,
just let me.
that'll be like the next one that we not the next one, but one after that. Okay, I think maybe not. I'm not sure. Okay. But this will show you what's happening now. We're now raising money to put on this other addition that's going to come off of this side of the house and will give us a year-round facility, including a year-round composting toilet and real running water. I want to show you what I built last year with a friend of mine. This is a dry sink that's actually functioning now as a regular sink, because at the recycle center, I found a sink that we popped into this hole. But for the most part, there's just a big hole of rocks down here, and we can wash up things. We have attached through a hose, another hose from another side that comes up from our maintenance building, runs through the woods. And it's just been so great because we can do handmade paper in here. I love using the resources that are all around us, and boy, can we make beautiful paper at this place. And this just gives you another view. I think this, when we're not open, we're usually open in non-COVID days, about 5 or 6 days a week, through a staff of volunteers. Nobody gets paid, including me. I chose to put my money that they wanted to pay me into the art house, so I would always have it available for our public. And this is a great way. I keep a big box of chalk and an eraser, so anybody walking down the trail can leave their creation for the day, which is very fun to do. So that gives you a little idea. Now I think you're going to run the photograph. I mean the video.
Yeah, I've got
Okay.
I've got a video here, so I'm going to share my screen, and this is introducing the trail right outside the cabin. Is that right?
Yeah, should I? Oh, wait, before you do that, then let me show one more slide, okay?
Okay.
Before you do it.
Sure.
Okay, I was going to show a little bit about what we do over here. I'll tell you another minute, okay?
Nice.
This is a little picture of me teaching, and you can see that I'm really techie as well as non-techie. I like them both. We have this wonderful projector that I can wheel around and show a slide that I have prepared, slideshow I prepared for the day. You can see my students are socially distanced. We're all in masks. I will only take 5 students in my class at a time right now, just to keep things safe. And then over in the picture on the right, you'll see my nature journaling club, which I got started with Melinda's incredible support and help. She is truly my mentor. And after being with you guys for a while, I thought maybe I can do something like that for Arcadia. So we now have our nature group, and you can see we're behind my house. I live on a nature preserve. It's actually called Jan's Nature Preserve because I'm probably the one who's so in love with it. And it even has a little swing that you can see in the background. But my students are actually drawing. We have red-winged blackbirds living back there and cattails. It's really beautiful. So they're doing some drawing and nature journaling about that space. It's really quite beautiful what they do. We meet all over the valley, and it's wonderful to have that opportunity. So we just keep growing, and soon there'll be a club that we're going to start for children and families, and one for seniors. And so we'll have 3 clubs that are kind of joined, but also have different outreach in specific for different groups. Boy, Melinda, look at your drawing coming along there. I'm loving it. Wish I could see everybody's. Also at Arcadia, one of the great things is we live really close to David Sibley. And I don't know how many of you know who David Sibley is, but he's a great author. He's a bird scientist, and he's a great author. And he comes to Arcadia on many occasions and looks for birds, does drawings of birds for us. He's just a real amazing human being. I love his work. He has a new book out called What It's Like to Be a Bird. I'm reading it. I highly recommend it. It's great. And then down here on the right-hand side, you can see some of the populations of people at Arcadia Creating Outdoors. This is a group doing jewelry work. This past year, I put in a kiln and decided there was probably a way we could do small clay projects. And this group wanted to do jewelry, and away we ran with it. So I can fire it right on the spot for them, which is really fun. And then this group here is painting trees and learning a lot about trees just by looking around us. This is one of our camp groups. We have a regular day camp all summer, not during COVID, but normally. And this is one of our groups of children here on the young adults here on the climate change. And I had them work in teams to create something with the natural leaves and fauna that they found. And they created a campfire where they're all warming their hands on a very cold morning. I thought that was pretty crazy and beautiful. I love what they did. So I'll give you another minute there. And I think now I'm ready for you to show the video. Do you want me to stop my screen share?
Sure. Yeah, you can stop your share, and I'm going to share the video.
Okay.
And let me get this full screen.
So we're gonna go on a little walk. And this shows you
Alright.
the area right around the house first. And Melinda, do you have the next one, which shows the start of Cedar Trail?
Sure, let me pop out of this first.
And then we're going to take a walk and we're going to go around the whole art trail, and I'm going to show you where we're going again in the next slide. But this introduces you to what it looks like.
Oh, hold on one second. I need to pop out of here. Let me stop my share. Maybe if there's anyone has another question, you can do that while I'm getting this next one ready. 1602. Sorry, folks. I'm working on a different computer today. This morning I discovered mine was unavailable. So I had to hop in on my husband's computer. So the interface is a little bit different. Okay, here we go.
Good for you, Melinda. I'd be freaked out by now.
Okay, oops, it's playing. Let me share my screen again, and then we'll get this going. And do you want to let us know? Okay, do you want me to start now, or you want to talk?
Yes,
just a
this is great. Just
Okay.
enjoy this bit. These are our
Okay.
cedar trails on the right. Our cedar trees, sorry.
Wow, that was actually really cool. I don't know, was the sound working when I shared that?
Yes.
Okay,
The
because
birds are amazing, right?
that, that's actually a really great sensory. We'll post the two video clips on the Padlet as well, so you can go and revisit, but maybe even making notes on what you hear, like the footsteps crunching and the birds calling and the wind blowing. It's super, super sensory rich, even though we're not there in person.
Okay, I have to go by and find out. Oh, here we go. I'm right in line. I just need to get this one to come up. Okay, screen share. Put this back up. Where's my screen share? All right. For some reason, Melinda, I'm not seeing my screen share. Maybe because you're still.
No, I'm not sharing any. I don't think I'm sharing
I got
anymore.
it now. I got it now. We're good. We're all back. Share. Good. Here we go. So let me put this on play and we're set. Okay. So this is the trail. And here we are at the art house, is right here. You can see the big sign. There are 7 stations to my art trail. And I got this idea that there was probably a way I could help my visitors get out on the trail and still learn about art and still have an experience with art while they were seeing what was around them. So I developed 2 books. I'm going to show you both of them for a minute. Oh, you can't see them now. I'll show you later. Oh, you can in my little, you guys can all still see my little side view or no?
It might be good to show after as well.
Okay, I'll show after, but there are 2 little trail books. And recently we just received money to take one of the books and blow it up really big and post it at our 7 stations. So I've been working feverishly on that, and hopefully it'll be up very soon. But the first step that we go to is called the line place. And then we go to shape junction number 2. And then we go to the texture, a feeling texture, I think that's called, if I remember correctly. And we see all kinds of beautiful value studies here. And then over here, we get to look at color. And then over in number 6, we look at tunnel vision. And then when we get back to the 7, we look at some of the fauna that's growing at the art house. So I cut everything down to just a minimum to show you, but I hope that you'll really enjoy this. And again, all this will be put onto the Padlet. So the first place is called the Line Place, and it's with our cedar trees. And I became really aware the very first time I visited this space what an opportunity it was to learn about line. And if you can see on the far right, there is a small little diagram I posted that talks about the kinds of lines you can find here. But I'm just going to show you for now, and you could always look at that later. So you can see that within our space, we're seeing beautiful curvy lines. I'm sure you can all see it right away, that the lines curve like crazy. And these lines are just everywhere. You can see them everywhere you look. On every part of these images, you can find curving lines. So one of our line types are curved lines. And then of course, there are the straight lines, like the tree trunks are often very straight, but there are parts of the branches that have a lot of straight aspects. And you can see that they're straight before they make a junction and then maybe go into a curve. Whoops, have to go back one. And then another part are the kinds that we're made up, which are combination lines, where part of us, and if you just stick out your own arm for a second, you can see that we're part curves and part straight parts as well. So combination lines are very important to see. And if we look at some of the ones that have a little bit of a curve and then you notice it goes straight, and it's wonderful to see that, because if you can name it, you can see it. And that's one of the reasons I think it's so important to study line types, because you'll see it so much better. And then you'll be able to kind of talk about it and describe it to yourself and say, oh, look, it's just to the right of that straight branch. And that line then makes an amazing curve. Another branch does a beautiful curve right off of it and comes back. So we get to see that. And I think that's very, very exciting. And of course, sometimes straight lines become bent lines. And you can pick out places where that happens too in life, where a straight line becomes almost like a rickety rack. You know what rickrack is, or goes in and out. Some people don't know what rickrack is anymore. I think people don't talk about rickrack as much anymore, but you can see parts where a line will go back and forth and back and forth. And that's fun to see too. So as we go along, we will come to shaped junction. And this time you can see the chart a little bit better, I think. It's right at the top. And I love looking at the spaces, not just of the spaces of the branches on the tree. They make a shape, right? You can see an actual shape here. In fact, it looks like a palm of a hand, right? But you can also see the spaces that are in between those spaces. So we sometimes look at them as the figure space being the palm part or the tree branch part, and the spaces in between being the ground part. So I like to look at both, because you can't have one without the other. For example, if you move, the space around you is going to change too. They don't separate, they're like a shadow. So I also love one more aspect that we should talk about. And if you look at this place where I'm outlining right now, even though it doesn't close by itself, like the tree trunk doesn't meet the other branch, it still creates a shape. And that's because the human eye has a tendency to want to close open spaces and make them into shapes. And that's the way our brain and our eye work together. So I think it's important, and it's a wonderful thing to help your drawing, is to not just look as the actual figure space, but look at the ground spaces all around it. And I think if you do, some of you might be better at looking those ground shapes and may be able to see them better because of the nature of the way you see. Anyway, I find it really a fascinating journey to look at both. And I can learn a whole lot. So this is shaped junction. And you can see, just like before, there are geometric shapes where they almost look like they're round or straight or curved. So if you were to divide a line down a shape and it was the same on both sides, that would make it a geometric shape. But sometimes shapes are bent, sometimes shapes are curved, and sometimes shapes are, again, those combination shapes where they have straight parts and curving parts. So all of that is visible right in front of you. Just take a look. Now, this is one of our benches. We have benches along the art trail. They were all made for us by an artist named Joey Pesci. And we really love our benches, and people get to know the spaces. Of course, this is very shape oriented. So it's in the shape Junction area, and I thought you might like to see it. Have you had enough time in this area? Should I move on?
Yeah, yes, you can go on. I mean, we could spend probably all day here because I'm just loving, I don't know if you can see my page, but I'm just really like challenging myself. So this is not easy, but the way that I'm approaching this is I'm training my hand and my brain and my eye to see the different lines and the shapes, and I'm listening to what Jan's talking about. And when I'm doing this, I'm kinesthetically getting it into my brain. So I'm understanding, it's kind of like when we sketch note a lecture, but instead of creating little icons, what I'm doing is I'm looking at the things that Jan is teaching us and putting down, like I love the quote, if you can name it, you can see it. So just by like, the exercise of going through naming these kinds of lines and naming the shapes is helping us see more deeply. So I'm loving this art trail walk. And if we could all take a field trip when maybe next year when
You
the
got it.
weather's nice, we can get together, we can go through. This is an amazing, I'm just thinking about like this dream, like your vision, anyone's vision can become reality. So Jan didn't see this art trail and say, how am I going to make the money to create this or get the land? She just had the vision and she shared it. She put it out from her mouth and shared it with someone. And there it started to happen. And so we're, people, once you start talking about what your vision is, people will come out of the woodwork, so to speak, and help create that together. So I
It's
think this
pretty
is such a
beautiful
great,
inside.
it
Beautiful.
is, it is.
I wanted to
Yeah.
point out one more thing in this area. You see the one that looks like a hand? The
Yeah.
reason it got to look like a hand has nothing to do with anything more. I mean, it grew sort of that way, but by cutting off whatever was around it in the frame, I was able to get you to see better the negative or the figure and the grounds and the figure spaces and the ground spaces. You could see it a lot better because I chopped it off, like the areas around it. And if you have a viewfinder, and I think Jack just posted how to make a viewfinder. I saw it online yesterday, but I can also put up my own directions if you want to make a simple viewfinder, because I think they're really helpful to have when you're outside, because you can lop off areas and help yourself see things better through a viewfinder. So, viewfinder, Melinda, did you ever have that anywhere that I'm missing?
No, but I think you can just cut out a little square from some, thick cardstock
It's
to
so
help
easy
you.
to do. Really.
Right. Yes, yes. And I think that Brian Higginbotham had done one on Saturday months ago, like cutting out little tiny square windows so you can focus on small areas. But I think using that and holding it up to see to help, because I think you're saying it's distracting, right, for our eye to see the whole tree. But we can narrow down in that little spot. We get to see the magic that was invisible to us.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see, this is my viewfinder, and I can show this again later. I have 4 different sizes, and I can hold it both
cool.
ways out in the field. And you notice that I also did a value chart on this side, going from light to dark values, and I cut holes in it. So when I'm looking through my viewfinder, I can see the value. I can put it up to one of the things I'm looking at, and I can see what value it is. And it
Jan,
really helps me.
will you let us know how you created yours, or if you have instructions, and then we'll post that. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. And Jan's going to talk. She's going to talk a little bit about value at one of the stations too. So not to worry.
Okay,
All
we're
right.
going on. So this is touching texture, and I think the textures on trees are really pretty fantastic. And if any of you are like me, touching things is really an important part of knowing them. So I encourage people to touch. And just in a small area at Arcadia, this is not even the whole place, but I was able to find hickory. It's a shagbark hickory. And you notice how the bark is just, it shags off. It looks like Mr. It. You know, remember it? That's dating me, really long time, probably before Melinda's time too. And all of you, a lot of you, some of you might remember Mr. It. But any case, and this one is a fun picture because on the left, the center one here of the birch, it's a black birch, not a white birch. On the left-hand side, you're seeing a young black birch, which you see how even, you know, it looks a lot more like a white birch, but look what happens to it as it ages. I think it's one of the most exquisite trees to look at how it deepens and makes niches, and it loses that definitive shape that it has as a child or a young tree, and it becomes this very in-depth sculptural looking tree and really has fantastic, almost unimaginable bark to it. And then here's a black cherry tree with a little bit of growth on it of moss. And then down below, a common pine tree, which we have many of in this area. And then my friend, the squirrel, who I absolutely love the texture on the edge of the squirrel's little house. And you will know soon that I love squirrels. And we have both black, gray, and red squirrels at Arcadia. So a red squirrel, it was a new thing for me. I'd never seen one before. They're very orange if you've never seen one. I don't know why they're called red, but they're really quite orangey brown. Anyway, and here's a basswood, also known as the American linden, this last piece over here on the right. Interesting tree. So this is a fast one. Should I keep going? Not enough time to draw.
Yeah, maybe another 30 seconds so we can just grab a little bit of texture. That'd be great.
I know which one I draw.
This is great also for like blind contour. Just follow some of the, you know, lines of the bark.
Oh, is. And you can't go
Right.
wrong. Look how
Yeah.
varied the bark is. It'll look like bark. I think one of the ways that I know I can make bark is by using a lot of value where you go lighter and darker, because these really dark spots around all of the trees have them. Those dark areas are important to make the texture appear more. Gosh, I want to just draw. Okay, that's about 30 seconds. Shall I move on?
Okay, yeah.
All right. And visions of value. So, you know, value, and I'm covering up something completely over here, but I can't get it out. I put in I don't know if you guys, if you close the, I'm just going to close this for a second. Okay. Now, can you see it on my screen? There's monochromatic value charts. So, you know, this is like the chart I made. The one on the left is similar to the chart I made, just with pencil. There are 9 spaces, the lightest at the top, the darkest at the bottom, and the middle value is in the middle. And I just try and see all the values going to the very darkest I can make with my pencil. And most of you have a lot of pencils, but I have to admit that I just use my mechanical pencil most of the time and just go over it many, many times to get it really dark. It's easier for me on the trail because it also has its own eraser and its own sharpening device on it. So that's why I use that. But you can see that you can also use, make a monochromatic out of any color that you're working with quite easily. So this one I just chose purple because I love that color, and you'll see a lot of it in the pictures to come. And again, you could do the same thing, start the lightest value you're going to have and the darkest value, then find the middle value, and then you can go darker. You can go lighter up this way and darker down this way. And it's a good way to work to really see the potential. I always encourage myself and the people I work with to know that when you start making value, you want to put your darkest in as well as your lightest, and then you'll make your middle grounds around them. But if you don't show how dark you can go, you often don't get there. It's just something I've really learned through lots of practice. So I want to talk for a second more about the image on the right-hand side, because this is what Arcadia looks like in snow. And it's very beautiful. But one of the things that happens with snow is a lot of reflection. So even though this area is far in the back, the sun is hitting it and it makes it very light. In the foreground, we can see much more of the detail of the footprints. We can't see those as we travel back, nor can we see much of the details in the tree as we get further back. Just you can see the individual branches up here toward the front, and you can see some gorgeous shadows that look how blue they look. That's really true with snow. The shadows in the snow are often very blue. And then on the left, you're seeing another view of part of our apple orchard that we have. We have a very old apple orchard that I'm trying to turn now into a meditation walk. That's one of my latest things. But you can see that in the foreground, you can see all the details, and you can see lots of shades of green and this yellow that comes after. But as we get further away, you can see that the values become softer and softer and lighter and more blurred until we reach the lightness of the sky. So that's a good way to learn about showing the illusion of space. So the things in the foreground, you'll be able to see more clearly. The things in the background are overlapped by the things that are in the foreground, and we can't see them quite as well. So it's very simple, again, to use your values that way. You guys had enough time on this one?
Yeah, maybe another 30 seconds would be great. This is, I'm really enjoying this, the value, especially the snow. I've never drawn snow, and I'm having fun with like the shadows of the trees coming out. I'm just really excited. I wasn't sure I could do it with pen, but it's working out okay. I think it's what it is. It's all about just dive in there. Anyone who's not done this before, just dive in there, grab your pencil and pen and just try it, because you'll never know until you get that pencil on the page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snow is really a beautiful quality. And, I know a lot of people think, ugh, snow, I never want to be in it. But once in your lifetime, I know most of you are out west, come back and see it. Call me up. I'll take you on a trip. And it's so incredibly beautiful because of the qualities of what it does to our earth, of all the things we know. It changes everything.
Well, and I think just that one snow picture, you've pointed out a bunch of different things that at first glance we might think, well, it's kind of black and just white because of the snow. But you've pointed out that the values in the snow go from not necessarily black to white, but it goes from white to this grayish blue. So, once you've pointed that out and we're starting to observe it, we see the world in a different way.
You
So
notice
I'm thinking,
over here where the light is stronger, the value becomes even darker. Isn't that
yeah. Right. And like even just observing like where are the shadows most crisp and where are they diffuse,
Yeah,
and the angles of the shadow. It's just really cool. Thank you.
you would love to see snow. Definitely, it's an amazing thing.
I don't have any snow gear because I'm a California girl.
I know, I have had to buy a lot of snow gear in my lifetime, but it's worth it.
Thank
Okay?
you. I think we can move on to the next station.
Okay. Whoops, forgot again. Okay, so now I take you from the dead of winter to the beautiful color and that we have here. The colors at Arcadia really are mind-boggling to me. Arcadia, as I mentioned earlier, has decided to do agricultural plantings in areas that we could, and it's been extraordinary to see our vegetables growing. This is a field on the left-hand slide. This is a field of vegetables growing up, and actually by now most of this last row have been harvested, but things are still being harvested. We haven't really had a freezing frost yet, which is hard to believe at the date we're at, but for us, it's still summer out. It's still quite warm. It's in the 60s and it feels great out. So this area where the vines are coming is usually in a vineyard. It's a little bit of a vineyard left over from something. We usually have lots of grapes hanging, and somebody must have harvested them earlier, or they're gone by now, which is surprising. But they're very, very beautiful with the grapes hanging down. I'm sorry I couldn't show you that picture. But you can see the colors are quite magnificent, aren't they? Just amazing. So these are a couple of the other things we have growing just wildly. I love the pink azalea. They're just incredible, especially the way they hang down because they're wild. They're not the usual azalea that we're all used to seeing. And we have predators, we have pollinators, sorry, everywhere. Here's a little bee pollinating some coreopsis. And we had, this is the red valerian, is this red stuff. I actually don't know what that orange is. I could not figure it out for the life of me. But I tried, and I'm going to continue to try. I'm going to ask one of our educators if she can help me with that. So on we go. Oh, did you have enough time? I didn't give you much time.
Can I ask a question? You said the agricultural fields, so that's part of the sanctuary, like part of
Yes,
it
it
is still used as an active field. And then is that operated by the sanctuary, or is it a farmer that leases the property?
Right now, it's a farmer that's leasing the property. And we also have many large areas in the areas called the meadows that we also lease out to the farmers. And it's worked out for us really well to do that because it is an income stream and it is getting everything planted so that there's no more reseeding of the land. And it does further, help the crop. It's all organic, might I add. There is no pesticides. We're actually one of the first sanctuaries in the United States to make legislative action against pesticide. And we've actually done a lot of treatment ourselves, and doing we have a lot of scientists working for us that work on things like that. I wrote a list of the firsts that we've had, and there were quite a bit of it that we've done as a organization. It's wonderful. Up at the top here, yeah, thank you. Up at the top here, I just wanted to show you that I also put in a little color chart for you. Whoops. I thought you might like to see that we do work with the primary colors as cyan, magenta, and yellow. And then when you mix them together, you can see the colors that you mix. When you mix the two primaries together, you get secondaries, and showing you what the secondaries are as well.
Yeah, and so as an art teacher, Jen, I see that you're using like the real primaries instead of the primary colors that we learned from Crayola.
Big mistake.
Look at right, red, yellow, and blue are the primaries. But those of us who have been, working on paints and painting in color are learning that the actual primary colors, and that we use a lot in the printing world, right, is cyan, which is that kind of turquoisey blue color, magenta, which looks like a hot pink, and yellow, which is, just this bright, vibrant yellow. And if you have those three colors in your color palette as paints or colored pencils, you can layer and blend with color pencil any color of the rainbow. And it's really hard to get every color when you have like the fire engine red, the the blue, and the yellow. It's hard to get all of the rich colors. So that could be another talk. But if those of you who have had Wild Wonder, there are several teachers who have talked about blending the three real primary colors of cyan, magenta, and yellow. So that could be a cool video to check out too.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to talk more about it because we have a dual primary system that we use, and it's working great. We're getting more colors than ever. So
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so moving on to the next station.
Yep. So this is tunnel vision. And this is the one, this is actually really happens. You walk along the trail. We're coming up the last long leg of the trail right now. And this trail takes you through a lot of beautiful hills and valleys. It's just exquisite. But when you get to the end of it, if you turn around, you'll realize in all seasons that you've just come through a very long tunnel. And I remember the first time I saw it and I realized that, oh my goodness, we just walked through this big tunnel and I didn't even know it. So it led me to think that what a good place to talk to everybody about a vision that you might have for a drawing or a painting or something that you want to make in nature journaling. You have a vision for it. And how do you decide how you're going to make that vision really stand out? And one of the ways that you can do that in this tunnel vision is using everything we've learned. Can you notice all the texture that's all around it? Melinda called it a frame the other day when we were looking, and I thought that was really accurate. And then you see how much more quiet it is inside the tunnel. The colors are all blending together. If you squint your eyes a little bit more, there's some lights in there, but we get a sense that that's a little different from the rest of it. So by doing a different texture, a different value, you can separate something just enough that our eyes will really go there and help us to notice. Pretty cool, huh? Just using the stuff that we've been talking about today. And then you can see over on the far right on the top, I put in a winter scene with the snow again, and look what happens. It becomes almost like a keyhole in the winter because the leaves are no longer hanging down. So that's the actual shape of it. Isn't that amazing? I love that. And then down here on the far right too is another view. And I love this one because all the trees are pointing to it. You see how all the branches just happen to be pointing to it? It's kind of another trick to get people to look at your piece, make everything point to it. Okay. Oh, did I give you enough time? I keep going too fast.
All right.
Is
Station
it enough
set.
time?
Yep.
Okay. And the last slide that I'm going to show you at the art house is now we're back to our beautiful art house. And one of the things that we have been working on the past few years is making a native garden around the art house. And right now we've had a lot of success with natural rhododendron that have really taken and love it there. And that's fun. But we also were blessed with an amazing fern garden. And I thought it would be really fun for Melinda and I to a little bit collaborate on this one. But the ferns at the art house are very varied, as there are thousands and thousands of kinds of ferns and various types, and they've been typed in many different ways. But I know Melinda worked with you a little bit on that a couple of weeks ago. And in this first example on the left, we're looking at a hart's tongue fern. And you'll notice that the outer shape of this would be considered the first cut on this fern. Nothing else has been cut. So you'll notice it's just an outside, and it is kind of interesting the way it wiggles in and out. It's very beautiful the way it's been cut. But if we go to the one in the middle, we'll see a twice cut. This is a sensitive fern. And after I'm done, I think Melinda's going to give you the technical terms for this. So you'll notice that it's been cut the outside edge. I'll just pick this fern right here and trace around it, just like the hart's tongue was. So all around, but you notice that something else is happening, is that it's going deeper into the fern. So you can see in the other pictures how much deeper the cut is. So now we're making it into leaflet, right, Melinda?
Yes.
It's a leaflet now that we've done. So you can really see those deep cuts that have been made. So this is the sensitive fern, the twice cut. And then we move on to the thrice cut, which is an ostrich fern with fiddleheads. And you'll notice that we cut all around the outside edge. We cut in to form the leaflets, but then we go into each one of the leaflets with our third cut. So that makes the 3 different cuts. And fiddleheads, by the way, are one of the delicacies that we enjoy out here. You can go out and spend 15 minutes picking and have enough for 3 days. And you have to be careful because they do, if you don't prepare them correctly, there is some, I think, tannin in them, something you shouldn't eat, but you have to cook them very, very slowly. I usually soak them a little bit first, wash them thoroughly, and then cook them with butter or some butter. I don't actually eat butter, but some of my plant substitutes, which work really well. They're really delicious. So, Melinda, you want to jump in here?
Yeah, it was just the names of the way that these plants grow. We know that these are like leaflets. So I think you could probably call this one the leaf of the fern, right? Because they're just single leaves. And then the one in the center is the leaflets. So each of those little pieces that Jan pointed out is a leaflet of a leaf. So you can consider that whole branch to be the leaf. And each of those side branches are leaflets. So it's made up of many leaflets. And so the way that that's arranged, it comes out in pairs along the side, are called a pinnate structure, P-I-N-N-A-T-E. And that just means pinnate comes from pinna, which is feather. So it looks like a feather structure, right? The feathers have veins along the side, V-A-N-E-S, that come along the side. And so it's a pinnate structure. Then if you go over to the third picture, each of those little leaflets are further divided, and it's hard to see in this photograph, but if you have a fern that's near you, take a look at the leaflets of the fern. Sometimes the leaflets themselves have leaflets on them. So if your leaflet has leaflets, then it's called bipinnate, B-I-P-I-N-N-A-T-E. So it's kind of a neat, little puzzle, so to speak, and, taking a magnifying glass and zooming in, or maybe even in your nature journal page, using the zoom in technique and, putting a little circle on the whole fern and then zooming into what those little structures look like would be a really cool way to show it.
It's beautiful. And there's a
Alright.
little chart here, the classification of
Yeah.
leaves that I think, Melinda, you asked us to look up one day, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure who was here, but there was one week that I talked about leaves and might have talked about some different leaf structures. And I mentioned the pinnate structure as one of the ways that leaves grow off of a branch.
Anyway, they're beautiful.
So
And just
I
on,
wanted to, yeah, so this was the last station, is that right?
we're back at the
So
art house. We
all
finished up.
right. And I loved the map. So I'm going to go through, after the presentation and look at your PDF and kind of put a map on my page so I can kind of walk through in my mind what that might feel like to go through all the stations. And the time right now is a couple minutes to the hour. And today, because we're doing a virtual field trip, we're ending at 11:30 so that we don't have everyone sitting in front of the computer on their behinds for too long. So what I want to shift over now is, maybe if there's any, if anyone has any questions, maybe you can type it into the chat and for Jan, and we will start to take some shares from today. And I love these stations that you came up with, like really bringing in the elements of art and pulling it into nature. That might be kind of a fun in-person thing to do for anybody. For those of you who are not here in the Monterey area and can't come to join us in person, you can create your own nature journal club. So I just maybe wanted to just say a couple things about that, because anyone can do this. It just takes a desire to bring people together, and know that when you take that action, things will fall into place. People will find you and they will show up, just like all of you did when I shifted to an online format. In my in-person nature journal club that I started last year, it's been exactly a year. So it was in October, was the first session that I started, and it was in person, and I had just a couple of folks. But you start small, and as the word gets out, more people come. But when we shifted to online is when all of you joined us, and I'm so excited that we can do this online. But know that in your little nature area, you can reach people when it's safe to go out and gather, just like Jan. That's a really great example for us. She had 5 people come, and they made sure that they spread apart. And you don't have to be an art teacher. You don't have to be a naturalist. You just want to be a curious human with a nature journal and wanting to share the beauty in nature and recording nature with other people. And that's where you start. And if you want to go to John Muir Laws's website, he has a whole page on where you can find your nearest in-person nature journal club. There's a map. You can look at that map. If you don't have one nearby, you can create your own. Go online, and there's a whole page that talks about how you can create your own nature journal club. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. And I'm happy to help you with ideas or encouragement, whatever you need, to start your own. Because I think each of us, I see us as like fireflies gathering around, I know they don't gather around the fire, but I kind of feel like, we're all gathered around the fire together, sharing our light and sharing our inspiration. And every Sunday when we log off and go away, we bring that light with us to our own places, wherever we are living on the planet, whether it's in the United States or Bolivia or the UK. And you can share that light that we've all created together with another little circle. So it's like ripples of the pond. You can spread that love of nature, of desire of watching nature and observing, and using the nature journal as a way to deepen that connection and learn how to draw better. So all of you can do this if you want to. And so if you get this idea and thought that you want to create it, then it's meant for you. So if you need any encouragement, keep coming back here. You know how to contact us. Also, Jan, has created this out of nothing, right? It was first started as an idea. So, you know, you can help support Jan. I think that they are, I'm not sure if your organization is taking donations.
It does. The Art House, if you want to donate to Arcadia, you can. But I would ask you to please donate to Melinda first. And if you have any extra and you still want to give, then the Art House would love it. And it's Arcadia, and I can post the address as well. I can put it right here online before we end.
Yeah.
Thank you. I would really greatly appreciate it. Maybe someday we'll be able to be a year-round facility. But I did want to just tell you that one of the things that I did, do I have time to talk for a little bit more? Okay, and I also want to show the latest autumn picture and do something for you.
Oh, great.
This is this is the second book I created about the art trail, and I used it's actually not up to date because the red squirrel printed pink by mistake. So we've changed it now into an orange squirrel, and they look much better. Anyway, but I wanted to show you that here's the art house. Can you see this okay?
Yeah.
Okay, and then this is going on to the station one, the first station. So this is the little booklet that we're making into big giant signs now, only it's been altered tremendously. But I just wanted to pop through here so you could see. I just put it together in a way that people could see and understand, which would make it a little easier. So these just go through all the stations, and they all everything I want to tell, I demonstrate using the two. And this is, I wanted to show you this one in particular, because this is how it usually is. Can you see all the grapes?
Oh, right, all the grapes. Yeah.
Yeah, it really looks like that. It's really quite beautiful. Anyway, I just wanted to show you, but
That's adorable.
It's cute, and we end up building something on the art house, the roof, which we haven't done yet.
So is this something that you sell at the art house for people?
They can buy it, but we also we just right now we're making it into these big giant signs so that they're really big and really colorful, and I'm pretty excited about that. That's such a thing that we could do. I also made one that's more geared maybe for adults. It's a little bit more in depth. With a lot more reading, and most of the adults come back and say, "Hey, where's that small book? So much easier to get." I guess I overdid it, but I do want to show you one picture of Arcadia today. Oh, Nicole, did you want to talk?
Can I interrupt for a second? Are those something that we could get online? Can I go find a link and put those to buy them online anywhere?
They'd have to just contact me, and we could sell them through that. And if people really wanted that, and I would just make sure that I forwarded to Arcadia, and then Arcadia would have them done for you. But we haven't set up anything in particular, because whenever I get them done, I just bring a batch over to our visitor center, and they can just sell it from there. Is how I've usually been doing it. We haven't done any mail type sales yet, but I did want to just show you one last slide, if that's okay, if I can share my screen for 1 minute. I don't want you to leave without seeing. This is what things are looking like right now. Remember, I promised you I'd show you how they have gotten rich in color and everything. So I just wanted you to be able to see that. And I'll post this one online too. But this is really, really fantastic. And I just wanted to do this for you. As soon as I come off from this, I'm going to give you some leaves to look at. But enough? Okay. It's so beautiful, right? So this is on top of one of the 7 sisters. And this is what it looks like. It's really something. Okay. Let's see. Oh, did I lose you? Oh,
No, we're still here.
you're still there. Something strange happened.
Maybe at the top of your screen.
Okay, I'm gonna just share. I'm gonna turn off sharing, stop share, and hopefully it'll all come back. There we go. You're back. And I just wanted to throw this for you in the air. So these are a bunch of fall leaves, and I wanted you to get a feeling of what it might be like to be standing outside when a breeze is blowing. Because what actually is going to happen is this. Did you get it? It was very fast. But they fall down like that, and it's so beautiful all over you. And fluster you up with leaves. So thank you all for coming to the presentation today. I really loved being a part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jan, for being here and bringing your presentation and letting us walk through Northampton or Southampton. I guess it's both with you for this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you guys are, or this evening, depending on where you're living. And I'm going to encourage folks to join, go over to Padlet, and that's a sharing space that we've set up for the Monterey Bay Nature Journal Club, where you can view each other's pages, where you can post, and we'll put links and resources. And if you have any questions, you can post questions there, like on how to use it. But I'll just encourage you, when you go, you'll want to set up a username to make sure that you have your name set up there. And otherwise, when you post something, it'll say anonymous and we don't know who you are. So just go and create your, I think it's called a username, and put in your name. And then you can start posting pictures and commenting on others. And if you have any trouble, take a look at that first column. It says read first, and it tells you how you can post on the Padlet, how to use it, how to create your account. And then if you have any trouble, let me know. And I hope to see some of you on Padlet. You can still post on the Monterey Bay Nature Journal Club Facebook group, but I know that there are members that are not on Facebook. And so I would love if those of you who are Facebook users, if you can come and post additionally or instead on the Padlet for this group. Or you could do both maybe, because there's some people who are on Facebook who don't know about the Padlet yet. But it's a really great, I think it's going to be a great way to engage everybody. And you can also print out a PDF, and you can see all of the pictures together to get inspired and get ideas. And I think especially today's talk with a lot of the art concepts, and would love to see how everyone got the lines and the color and the shapes and the textures in your nature journal. And so we'll see you over on Padlet. And if you are able to support my work, I've been bringing, I think I calculated like over 90 hours of free nature journaling workshops and classes since March of this year. I didn't realize, the time goes by so fast, but it is my joy to bring this to you, and I want to keep bringing this to you. So those of you who can help support me to continue doing that, it would be greatly appreciated. The link is in the chat. Nicole had posted it just a few minutes ago. And those of you who have been supporting me, thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to be of service to you and the rest of our community. And I hope to reach more people. We need more people like you to touch nature, to be observing nature, so that we can start to fall in love with the world around us, because that is when we start to care about each other, about the world, and start really waking up and making this place better for all of us. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Next week, we'll be back again for more nature journaling. So until then, get out there and use some of these skills that you've learned, like look for lines, look for shapes, look for value, and create some new pages and post it on Padlet. And we're going to keep inspiring each other.
And
All right.
Linda, one last thing about next week is that in the United States, we will be changing time. And so
Okay.
Ray Bonto, if you're still here, will be on the same time, the same difference next week. And anybody in the UK, or I guess the continent.
Nicole, thank you for that reminder. I think for those of us who have smartphones, the phones will automatically update to the new time. But for those who don't, just be aware that we will be going to Pacific Standard Time. So if you're not sure what that means to your time zone, there's a website you can go to. It's Time and Date. I think it's timeanddate.com, where you can type in your location and another location that you want to know the time and date for, and then you'll know what time, how it needs to be adjusted for next week. All right, again, thank you, Jan, for inspiring us, bringing so much joy to our Sunday. And Nicole, thank you so much for always being here behind the scenes, putting in these just making sure everything's running, right? And getting everyone spotlighted. I just really appreciate that. So, and for all of you for being here, I just want to look at the gallery view for a moment, and it's just so nice to see some of the faces, and we'll see you next time. All right. Have a great weekend.